I stayed silent while my own family destroyed my life, because I needed them to think I was weak. The rain hadn't started yet when my mother told me where I'd be sitting at the wedding. But I already knew this day would drown me. Let me back up. Growing up in Hartford, I learned early that love in our house had conditions. My older sister? She got the unconditional kind. I got what was left over, which most days was nothing at all. My parents never hid their preference. When we were kids, they celebrated her B+ like she'd cured cancer. My straight A's? Don't get cocky. She broke curfew. Teenagers will be teenagers. I came home 5 minutes late. Grounded for a week. By the time I turned 16, I stopped trying to win their approval. I just survived. Fast forward to last March. My sister announced her engagement to a lawyer from Boston. Not just any lawyer, a rising star at some prestigious firm, the kind of man who wore his success like cologne. My parents practically threw a parade. The wedding planning started immediately. My mother turned into a different person, giddy, obsessed, spending money like water. My father just nodded along, writing checks and bragging to his golf buddies about his daughter marrying into the right kind of family. No one asked if I wanted to be involved. I was just expected to show up and smile. Then I made my first mistake. I brought my husband to a family dinner. His name is, well, you'll meet him properly soon. What matters is what he does. He's a firefighter. Good man. Honest work. Saves lives for a living. My parents looked at him like he'd tracked mud on their white carpet. So, what are your career plans? My father asked, voice dripping with judgment. I love what I do, sir. Plan to keep doing it. My mother actually laughed. Not a polite laugh. A cruel one. Well, she said, turning to my sister, at least one of my daughters married well. I felt my husband's hand tighten around mine under the table. But he didn't react. Just smiled politely and changed the subject. That's when I knew my mother underestimated him. They all did. The wedding invitation arrived 2 weeks later. Cream-colored, expensive, embossed with gold lettering. Inside, tucked behind the main card, was a small note in my mother's handwriting. Seating arrangements are final. Do not cause a scene. I didn't understand what that meant. Not yet. Have you ever felt invisible in your own family? Comment below. I need to know I wasn't alone in this. But that note? It was a warning I should have paid attention to. The morning of the wedding, my phone rang at 6 a.m. My mother didn't bother with hello. You'll be sitting outside during the ceremony. Lawn chairs are set up for overflow guests. Don't argue. I sat up in bed, still half asleep. Outside? Mom, it's April in Connecticut. The forecast says rain. Then bring an umbrella. Her voice was ice. The indoor seats are for people who actually matter to this family. Maybe you'll finally understand your place. She hung up. I stared at my phone, hands shaking. My husband rolled over, saw my face. What happened? I told him. Watched his jaw tighten, that muscle near his ear jumping the way it does when he's controlling anger. We don't have to go, he said quietly. Yes, we do. I don't know why I said it. Pride, maybe. Or some broken part of me still hoping they'd see how cruel they were being. We got dressed. Me in a navy dress I'd bought specifically for this day. Him in his only suit, the one he wore to formal department events. The venue was 40 minutes away, some restored mansion with columns and gardens that cost more to rent than most people's cars. When we pulled up, I could see the white chairs arranged in perfect rows inside the glass-walled ceremony space. Then I saw the folding chairs. Outside. On the lawn. Already damp from morning dew. You've got to be kidding me, my husband muttered. A coordinator with a clipboard spotted us. Her smile was practiced, fake. Names? I gave them. She checked her list, and something shifted in her expression. Pity, maybe. Or embarrassment. Right this way. She led us past the main entrance, past the indoor guests in their designer outfits, past my relatives who suddenly found their phones very interesting. We walked through a side gate to the lawn area. 8 folding chairs. All empty. Set up 30 feet from the actual ceremony space. Are we the only ones out here? My husband asked. The coordinator looked uncomfortable. As of now, yes. I'm sorry, this isn't. I just follow the seating chart. She left quickly. We sat down. The chairs were cold, slightly wet. I could see everything through the glass walls, my parents greeting guests, my sister in her white gown getting last-minute adjustments, the photographer capturing every perfect moment. No one looked our way. Then the sky opened up. It started as a drizzle. Within 3 minutes, it was pouring. My hair stuck to my face. My dress clung to my skin. Mascara ran down my cheeks, I could feel it. Inside, the ceremony began. I could see my sister walking down the aisle, smiling like a princess. Could see my mother crying happy tears. Could see 200 people in their dry, comfortable seats. And I sat in the rain. My husband didn't say a word. He just took off his suit jacket, held it over both our heads like a useless umbrella, and wrapped his other arm around my shoulders. You're not alone, he whispered. That's when I cried. Not because of the rain. Because for the first time in my life, someone chose me. But then, through the downpour, I heard tires screeching. A black SUV came racing up the driveway, way too fast, spraying mud across the pristine lawn. The ceremony froze. Everyone turned. And the driver's door opened. If you've ever been publicly humiliated by family, you know this feeling. Drop a comment, guilty or not guilty, would you have stayed? I recognized him immediately. Derek. The groom's older brother. But this wasn't a fashionably late arrival. This was an entrance designed to destroy. He slammed the car door and strode toward the ceremony entrance, completely ignoring the rain. He wore jeans and a leather jacket, not even close to wedding attire. In his hand was a manila folder, already getting soaked. The officiant stopped mid-sentence. My sister's face went from glowing bride to statue in seconds. Her fiancé, the successful lawyer who was supposed to be her golden ticket, turned pale. My mother stood up. Derek, this is a private. Sit down, Susan. His voice cut through the rain. Everyone needs to hear this. I couldn't believe what I was watching. My husband leaned forward slightly, and I noticed something strange. He didn't look shocked. He looked focused. Alert. Derek walked right up to the altar and opened the folder. Sorry to interrupt the fairy tale, he announced, loud enough for everyone to hear. But before my baby brother makes the biggest mistake of his life, you all should know who you're celebrating. He pulled out photographs. Large ones, printed on glossy paper. Started holding them up one by one. The first showed my sister and her fiancé at some restaurant. Nothing scandalous at first glance, just dinner. But Derek flipped to the next photo. Then another. Same restaurant, different nights, but each time there was a third person at the table. A man I didn't recognize. Anyone know who that is? Derek asked the crowd. That's Marcus Chen. Federal investigator. Fraud division. Murmurs erupted. My sister's mouth opened but no sound came out. Derek wasn't finished. He pulled out bank statements next, holding them high. These are transfers from my brother's law firm. $2 million, moved through 16 different accounts over 8 months. Want to guess where it ended up? He pointed directly at my sister. Her personal account. Opened 3 weeks after they started dating. The crowd exploded. Gasps, whispers, a few people standing up to see better. My mother looked like she might faint. My father's face turned red with rage, but I couldn't tell if he was angry at Derek or at my sister. The groom finally found his voice. That's a lie. Those documents are fabricated? Derek smiled. That's what I thought you'd say. He pulled out more papers. Emails, apparently. Text messages blown up to readable size. I couldn't make out all the details from where I sat in the rain, but I could read the date stamps. Recent. Very recent. My sister grabbed for the papers, but Derek stepped back. The FBI already has copies, he said calmly. I'm just making sure the family knows what kind of person she really is before you all waste champagne on a criminal. Security finally started moving toward him. And that's when my husband stood up. What would you do if your family's perfect child got exposed? Tell me in the comments, I want to know where you stand on this. My husband walked through the rain like it wasn't even there. Every head turned. This man they dismissed as just a firefighter, moved with the kind of authority that made people step aside without thinking. He reached the ceremony space and held up one hand. Before security throws anyone out, his voice carried across the lawn, maybe we should check if those documents are actually real. Derek's smile faltered. Just slightly. My husband pulled out his phone. See, I've spent the last 3 months working with someone. A forensic accountant, actually. Friend from college who owes me a favor. He tapped his screen a few times, then looked at the venue coordinator. Can I use that display screen you've got set up for the slideshow? She looked at my mother, confused. My mother was too shocked to respond. I'll take that as a yes. Within 30 seconds, my husband had connected his phone to the large screen positioned near the altar. The wedding photos that were supposed to play during the reception disappeared, replaced by a spreadsheet. These, he said, pointing to the screen, are the actual financial records from the law firm. Notice anything different from Derek's version? I squinted through the rain. The numbers looked similar, but the account names were different. Those transfers Derek mentioned? They happened. But they didn't go to your bride. He looked directly at my sister's fiancé. They went to a shell company registered in Delaware. Want to guess who owns that company? He clicked to the next image. A business registration document. Derek's name was right there at the top. The crowd went silent. You son of a... Derek lunged forward, but security finally grabbed him. My husband wasn't done. He pulled up another file. The photos are real too. That is Marcus Chen, federal investigator. But he wasn't meeting with them about fraud. He clicked again. He was investigating Derek for money laundering. Your brother was using your firm as a front, moving dirty money from his real estate deals in New York. More documents appeared on screen. Bank transfers, LLC filings, email chains between Derek and various shell companies. Those meetings at the restaurant? Your fiancé and Marcus were building a case against Derek. She's been cooperating with federal investigators for 6 months. My sister's knees buckled. Her fiancé caught her, and for the first time since Derek arrived, he looked relieved instead of terrified. My mother finally found her voice. How could you possibly? My husband looked directly at her. You assumed I was nobody because I run into burning buildings for a living. You never asked about my degree in criminal justice. Never asked why half my friends work in law enforcement. Never bothered to learn anything about me except that I wasn't rich enough for your standards. The rain was stopping. Timing couldn't have been more perfect. Security was escorting Derek away. He was screaming something about lawyers and lawsuits, but nobody was listening anymore. The officiant cleared his throat awkwardly. "Should we continue the ceremony?" My sister nodded, mascara running, but smiling now. Grateful. The wedding proceeded. Shorter than planned, with half the guests whispering instead of paying attention. But it happened. And through it all, I sat in my wet folding chair, watching my poor husband save the day while my parents stood there, frozen in their expensive seats, finally understanding they'd been wrong about everything. But I noticed something as the ceremony ended. My mother pulled out her phone. Turned away from the crowd. Started typing fast, her face twisted with something that looked like rage. What I didn't know yet was that saving my sister's wedding had just made me a target. The reception started an hour late. By then, most guests had forgotten about Derek's disruption. Open bar has a way of erasing memories. The music was loud, the food was expensive, and my sister was making her rounds, thanking everyone for understanding the family drama. She didn't thank me. Didn't even look my way. My husband and I stayed at our assigned table, tucked in the back corner, naturally. Table 14. Right next to the kitchen doors where servers kept rushing past. "You okay?" he asked quietly. I wasn't sure how to answer. My dress had finally dried, but I still felt cold. Exposed. "You never told me," I said. "About the investigation. About knowing what Derek was planning." He took a sip of water. "I didn't know exactly what he'd do. I just knew something was off when your sister mentioned his name at that family dinner. I made some calls. Connected some dots. You protected her. I protected the truth." He looked at me. "There's a difference." The DJ announced the first dance. Everyone turned to watch my sister and her new husband sway under carefully positioned spotlights. It looked like a scene from a movie. I needed air. I excused myself and headed toward the bathroom, but the line was ridiculous. So I walked down a side hallway, looking for a quiet spot to breathe. That's when I heard my mother's voice. She was standing near an emergency exit, phone pressed to her ear, back turned to the hallway. I stopped walking. "No, listen to me," she hissed into the phone. "This doesn't leave the family. I don't care what actually happened, the optics are terrible." Silence while whoever was on the other end responded. "We'll handle it later. After the honeymoon." Her voice dropped lower. "And we'll handle the other one too. She can't be allowed to ruin the reputation we've built. Not after today." My blood went cold. "The other one." She meant me. "I'm serious," my mother continued. "That stunt her husband pulled, making us look foolish in front of everyone, do you know how many people saw that? How many will talk?" More silence. "I don't care if he was right. He embarrassed this family. Both of them did by association." She paused. "We'll deal with it quietly. Financial pressure usually works. Cut them off completely, make sure the extended family knows not to help them. They'll come crawling back eventually, and when they do, we set the terms." I backed away slowly, carefully, trying not to make a sound. My hands were shaking when I got back to the table. "What's wrong?" My husband saw my face immediately. I couldn't answer right away. The music was too loud, too many people around us. "We need to leave," I whispered. "Now." We walked to our car in silence. The parking lot was mostly empty, everyone still inside celebrating. That's when I saw it. A white envelope tucked under the windshield wiper. No name. No address. Just an envelope that hadn't been there 2 hours ago. My husband pulled it out, looked at me for permission. I nodded. Inside was a single key and a handwritten note on expensive stationery. Safety Deposit Box 447. First National Bank, Hartford. You deserve to know what they took from you. No signature. Tell me, if someone left you a mysterious key, would you use it? Comment your answer because I'm still not sure I made the right choice. We didn't go home that night. My husband drove us straight to a diner off the highway. Neutral ground. Somewhere we could think. The envelope sat on the table between us, next to cold coffee neither of us was drinking. Could be a trap, he said. I know. Could be someone messing with you. I know that too. But something in my gut told me this was real. That key felt heavy in my palm. Significant. My grandfather, I said slowly. He died when I was 19. I remember my parents handling everything. They said he left his money to charity. Said he believed in earning your own way, not handouts. My husband's eyes narrowed. You believe that? I thought about it. Really thought about it. No, I admitted. He used to slip me 20s when my parents weren't looking. Told me to save them for something important. He wasn't the type to cut out his grandkids. So who sent this? I had no idea. But I knew we had to find out. Monday morning, we showed up at First National Bank right when they opened. The woman at the customer service desk looked at the key, then at me. I'll need identification and the account holder's information. I gave her my license, my grandfather's full name, his date of death. She typed for what felt like forever. Then her expression changed. One moment please. She disappeared into a back office. Came back with a manager. The manager, a man in his 50s with kind eyes, studied my face carefully. You look just like him, he said quietly. Your grandfather. He was a good man. You knew him? I handled his estate planning personally. He was very specific about his wishes. The manager paused. Your parents were supposed to give you access to this box when you turned 25. That was 4 years ago. My stomach dropped. He led us to the vault. Used the key and a master key together. The metal door swung open. Inside was a single large envelope and a letter. I recognized my grandfather's handwriting immediately. My hands shook as I opened the letter. My dear girl. If you're reading this, it means your parents finally did the right thing, or someone else did it for them. I'm hoping for the former but preparing for the latter. When I die, you'll inherit a trust fund. $850,000. It's yours. Your parents have no legal claim to it, though I suspect they'll try to convince you otherwise. I set it up this way because I've watched how they treat you. How they've always treated you. You deserve better. This money is your freedom. Don't let them take that from you too. Love always. Grandpa Frank. The envelope contained documents. Trust paperwork. Account statements. But when I looked at the dates on the statements, my vision blurred. Monthly withdrawals. Starting 2 months after my 25th birthday. Tens of thousands at a time, moved to an account under my mother's name. Management fees, the notes said. Custodial oversight. Over 4 years, they'd taken nearly $300,000. My husband read over my shoulder. I felt him go rigid. They stole from you, he said quietly. Your own parents have been stealing from you for 4 years. The bank manager looked uncomfortable. I'm required to report that your parents claimed they were managing the funds on your behalf until you were financially stable. They had some legal documentation that seemed legitimate at the time. Seemed? Our legal team has since flagged it as potentially fraudulent. We've been trying to contact you for 6 months, but the address on file was my parents' address, I finished. He nodded. I sat down in one of the vault chairs, documents scattered in my lap. Everything made sense now. Why they kept me close but never let me succeed. Why they criticized every job, every decision, every relationship. They needed me dependent. Controllable. Because the moment I became independent, I might discover what they'd done. There's more, the manager said carefully. The remaining balance, plus accrued interest, comes to approximately $625,000. It's legally yours. But if you want to pursue criminal charges for the withdrawn funds. My husband looked at me. Your call. I thought about my mother's phone call at the wedding. Her plans to handle me. To cut me off from the family, apply pressure, make me crawl back. They'd already been stealing from me for years. And they were planning to do worse. Some people say revenge is wrong. That you should forgive family no matter what. But those people never had their parents steal their future. 3 days after we left the bank, my sister showed up at our apartment. I almost didn't answer the door. We had just gotten back from meeting with a lawyer about the trust fund theft. My head was spinning with legal terms, embezzlement, fraud, fiduciary duty. But she knocked again. Harder. Please, I heard through the door. I know you're home. I just need 5 minutes. My husband looked at me, eyebrows raised. Your choice, his expression said. I opened the door. My sister looked terrible. No makeup, hair in a messy bun, wearing sweatpants and an old college hoodie. This wasn't the polished golden child I'd grown up resenting. Can I come in? I stepped aside. She sat on our couch, hands clasped between her knees, staring at the floor. I know about the trust fund, she said quietly. I froze. How? Grandpa Frank's lawyer called me. Said you'd filed a claim. Asked if I knew anything about the management fees. She looked up, eyes red. I told him the truth. That I've known for 2 years. The betrayal hit fresh. 2 years. You knew they were stealing from me and you said nothing. I know. Her voice cracked. I know how that sounds. But you have to understand. Understand what? That you're just like them? That I'm trapped too. She stood up suddenly, pacing. You think I wanted this life? This marriage? Any of it? I stared at her. Mom and Dad set me up with him, she continued, words spilling out fast now. The lawyer. They met his parents at some charity function, found out he was single and successful, and basically arranged the whole thing. First date, relationship timeline, engagement, all of it scripted. You could have said no. Could I? She laughed bitterly. When have either of us ever been allowed to say no to them? The difference is you got strong enough to try. I kept playing along because it was easier than fighting. My husband, who'd been silent until now, spoke up. What about the fraud investigation? The federal case? She wiped her eyes. That part was real. I actually did help build the case against Derek. Only good thing I've done in years, honestly. But even that, Mom's furious about it. Says I made the family look involved in criminal activity. Like I should have just let him keep laundering money through my husband's firm. Why are you here? I asked. What do you actually want? She took a shaky breath. They're planning something. Against you. I heard them on the phone last night. My blood ran cold. What kind of something? I don't know exactly. But Dad was talking about lawyers. About proving you're mentally unfit to manage the trust fund. They want to get guardianship, take legal control of everything. That's insane. I'm 29 years old, I have a job, a marriage. They don't care. They'll lie. They'll find doctors who'll say whatever they want. You don't understand how far they'll go to protect their reputation. She looked directly at me. They're not just angry you found out about the money. They're terrified of what happens if other people find out. The country club friends, the business associates, everyone they've spent decades impressing. So you're here to warn me. I'm here to help you. She pulled out her phone. I've been recording conversations. 3 weeks worth. Mom and Dad discussing the theft, their plans for you, everything. She handed me the phone. I pressed play on the first recording. My mother's voice filled the room. Doesn't matter if it's legal. We'll bury her in court fees until she gives up. She's always been weak. I stopped the recording. Couldn't listen to more. My sister sat back down, looking exhausted. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I know I should have done this years ago. But I'm done being their perfect daughter. It's killing me. What about your husband? Your marriage? He knows everything. He's a good person. Better than I deserve. He wants me to do the right thing too. There was a long silence. My husband stood. If you're serious about helping, we need those recordings sent to our lawyer today. And you need to be willing to testify if this goes to court. She nodded immediately. Whatever it takes. I looked at this woman who'd been my enemy my entire life. Who'd watched me suffer and stayed silent. Who'd chosen comfort over courage again and again. But who was finally, maybe, choosing differently. I can't forgive you yet, I said honestly. I don't know if I ever will. I understand. But if you're really done protecting them. I met her eyes. Then help me make sure they can't do this to anyone else. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. And for the first time in our lives, we were on the same side. What would you do, trust a sibling who betrayed you, or face your parents alone? This is where it gets complicated. My parents hosted their annual charity gala every May at the Riverside Country Club. Black tie. Silent auction. 500 of Connecticut's wealthiest families pretending to care about whatever cause was fashionable that year. This year it was childhood literacy, ironic, considering how my parents never read me a single bedtime story growing up. The event was in 4 days. We crash it, my sister said during our strategy meeting at the lawyer's office. They won't expect you to show up. They think you're too scared. Our lawyer, a sharp woman named Patricia Chin, shook her head. I'd advise against public confrontation. We have enough evidence to proceed quietly through legal channels. Quietly is what they want, my husband said. They've spent 30 years building a reputation on lies. The only way to stop them is to expose those lies where it hurts most. Patricia looked at me. It's your decision. But understand, once you do this, there's no going back. Your family relationships will be permanently destroyed. I thought about sitting in the rain at my sister's wedding. About 4 years of stolen money. About my mother's voice on those recordings, calling me weak, planning to have me declared mentally unfit. They destroyed the relationship a long time ago, I said. I'm just making it public. The night of the gala, we arrived exactly 30 minutes after it started. Late enough that everyone would be seated for dinner. Early enough that we wouldn't miss my father's speech. My sister had gotten us added to the guest list, claimed we were her plus ones. The woman at check-in looked confused but let us through. We walked into a ballroom that cost more to decorate than most people earn in a year. Crystal chandeliers. Ice sculptures. Tables draped in silk. My mother spotted us immediately. I watched the color drain from her face. She grabbed my father's arm, whispered something urgent. He turned, saw us, and his expression went from surprised to furious in half a second. They started walking toward us, but Patricia stepped forward. Mr. and Mrs. Thompson. I'm Patricia Chen, legal counsel. Before you say anything, you should know that everything you say here is being recorded and can be used in ongoing legal proceedings. My father stopped walking. What is this? This, I said, finding my voice, is me refusing to stay quiet anymore. The dinner chimes rang. Everyone started taking their seats. My parents had no choice but to go to the head table. We sat at a table near the front, courtesy of my sister's planning. Dinner was served. Speeches began. A board member talked about literacy rates. A local teacher shared a heartwarming story. Then the MC introduced my father. He walked to the podium, adjusting his bow tie. Smiled that practiced smile he used for donors. Good evening, everyone. As many of you know, family is everything to me. My wife Susan and I have built our lives around the principle that we owe it to the next generation to leave the world better than we found it. I stood up. The room went silent. My father stopped mid-sentence. Excuse me, this is. Tell them about Grandpa Frank's trust fund, I said clearly. My voice carried in the quiet room. Tell them how you've been stealing from your own daughter for 4 years. Gasps rippled through the crowd. My mother stood. Sit down right now. You're embarrassing yourself. No, my sister stood too. She's telling the truth. And I can prove it. She pulled out her phone, connected it to the venue's AV system, the same system set up for the charity presentation. Within seconds, my grandfather's will appeared on every screen in the ballroom. Then the trust documents. Then bank statements showing the fraudulent withdrawals. These are financial records, Patricia announced, standing. Showing systematic embezzlement of $300,000 from a protected trust fund. The perpetrators are Richard and Susan Thompson. The room erupted. My father tried to speak but his microphone had been cut. My sister had arranged that too. My mother's face twisted with rage. She started toward me but my husband stepped between us. I wouldn't, he said quietly. Patricia pulled out more documents. We also have 18 recorded conversations where Mrs. Thompson discusses plans to fraudulently obtain guardianship over her daughter to maintain access to the remaining funds. She played one recording. My mother's voice filled the ballroom. She's always been weak. We'll get doctors to say she can't handle money. It's not even difficult, just find the right ones and pay them enough. I watched my parents' carefully constructed world collapse in real time. People were standing. Whispering. Some were filming on their phones. The charity board members looked horrified. The country club manager approached my parents. I'm going to have to ask you to leave. This is our event, my father shouted. Not anymore, it isn't. Security appeared. Actual security, escorting my parents out of their own charity gala while 500 people watched. My mother locked eyes with me as she was led away. The hatred in her gaze was pure, undiluted. But for the first time in my life, I didn't look away. As the doors closed behind them, the room stayed silent for a long moment. Then someone started clapping. I don't know who. But others joined. Within seconds, half the room was applauding. Not for me. For the truth. My sister squeezed my hand. My husband put his arm around my shoulders. And I realized something. I just destroyed my family's reputation to save my own life. Some of you will say I went too far. That I should have handled this privately. But tell me, what would you have done? My mother stood. Sit down right now. You're embarrassing yourself. No, my sister stood too. She's telling the truth. And I can prove it. She pulled out her phone, connected it to the venue's AV system, the the same system set up for the charity presentation. Within seconds, my grandfather's will appeared on every screen in the ballroom. Then the trust documents. Then bank statements showing the fraudulent withdrawals. These are financial records, Patricia announced, standing. Showing systematic embezzlement of $300,000 from a protected trust fund. The perpetrators are Richard and Susan Thompson. The room erupted. My father tried to speak but his microphone had been cut. My sister had arranged that too. My mother's face twisted with rage. She started toward me but my husband stepped between us. I wouldn't, he said quietly. Patricia pulled out more documents. We also have 18 recorded conversations where Mrs. Thompson discusses plans to fraudulently obtain guardianship over her daughter to maintain access to the remaining funds. She played one recording. My mother's voice filled the ballroom. She's always been weak. We'll get doctors to say she can't handle money. It's not even difficult, just find the right ones and pay them enough. I watched my parents' carefully constructed world collapse in real time. People were standing. Whispering. Some were filming on their phones. The charity board members looked horrified. The country club manager approached my parents. I'm going to have to ask you to leave. This is our event, my father shouted. Not anymore, it isn't. Security appeared. Actual security, escorting my parents out of their own charity gala while 500 people watched. My mother locked eyes with me as she was led away. The hatred in her gaze was pure, undiluted. But for the first time in my life, I didn't look away. As the doors closed behind them, the room stayed silent for a long moment. Then someone started clapping. I don't know who. But others joined. Within seconds, half the room was applauding. Not for me. For the truth. My sister squeezed my hand. My husband put his arm around my shoulders. And I realized something. I just destroyed my family's reputation to save my own life. Some of you will say I went too far. That I should have handled this privately. But tell me, what would you have done? Chapter 9, The Cost of Justice. Word count, 550 words. My father collapsed 2 hours after leaving the gala. The call came from my aunt, my mother's sister, one of the few family members who'd always been kind to me. He's at Hartford Hospital, she said, voice tight. Stress-induced cardiac event. He's stable but, your mother is saying this is your fault. I sat in our car in the country club parking lot, phone pressed to my ear, feeling numb. Is he going to be okay? Doctors think so. But your mother. She paused. She's telling everyone who'll listen that you tried to kill him. That you orchestrated a public attack designed to cause maximum damage. I exposed the truth. I know, honey. I believe you. But not everyone does. Over the next week, the family divided cleanly down the middle. Half believed me. They'd seen the evidence, heard the recordings, couldn't deny what my parents had done. The other half thought I was vindictive. Cruel. That even if my parents made mistakes, I should have handled it privately. That airing family business at a charity event was unforgivable. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. Cousins, aunts, uncles, all with opinions. The ones who hurt most were the relatives I'd actually liked growing up. My uncle who taught me to ride a bike. My grandmother who made cookies every Sunday. They called me selfish. Said I'd torn the family apart over money. It wasn't about the money, I kept saying. But they didn't want to hear it. My sister faced backlash too. Her in-laws questioned whether she could be trusted. Some of her friends stopped calling. I'm sorry, I told her one afternoon. We were at a coffee shop, both exhausted. You're losing people because of me. I'm losing people who were never really there, she said. If they can't see what mom and dad did was wrong, then they were never actually my friends. Patricia called with updates every few days. We had 3 options, she explained. 1. Press criminal charges for embezzlement. 2. Settle for full restitution and a restraining order. 3. Take it to civil court and sue for damages plus emotional distress. What do you want? She asked. I didn't know. Part of me wanted them in handcuffs. Wanted them to feel as powerless as they'd made me feel. But another part of me just wanted it over. They'll offer a settlement, Patricia predicted. Your mother's already hired a crisis management firm. They're trying to control the narrative, but the evidence is too strong. They'll want this to go away quietly. She was right. 1 week after the gala, their lawyer reached out. Full restitution of the $300,000. Additional $150,000 for damages. Permanent restraining order, they couldn't contact me directly ever again. In exchange, I wouldn't press criminal charges. It's a good offer, Patricia said. You'd get your money back and legal protection. But it means they walk away without criminal records. I looked at my husband. What do you think? I think you've already won, he said quietly. Everyone knows what they did. Their reputations are destroyed. The country club expelled them. Half their friends won't return calls. Isn't that enough? Was it? I thought about my father in the hospital. About my mother's hatred. About the family members who'd taken sides. Justice had a price. I'd gotten what I wanted. Exposure, validation, safety. But I'd also lost something I could never get back. I'll take the settlement, I told Patricia. Some battles you win by fighting. Others you win by choosing peace. My husband held my hand as we signed the papers. No regrets, he asked. Plenty of regrets, I admitted. But not about this. 2 days later, my sister called. Mom wants to meet with you. She says she has something you need to hear. Absolutely not. The restraining order. She knows. She's asking you to waive it for one conversation. Just her. No lawyers, no dad. She says. My sister's voice dropped. She says it's about why she really did this. The actual reason. I should have said no. But something in my sister's tone made me hesitate. Do you think I should go? Honestly? I don't know. But I think you'll regret it if you don't. Against every logical instinct, I agreed to meet. What's the right choice here? Meet the person who destroyed you, or walk away forever? I'm still not sure I chose correctly. We met at a park. Neutral ground. My husband waited in the car, ready to intervene if needed. My mother sat on a bench overlooking the river. She looked smaller somehow. Older. Her hair wasn't perfectly styled. She wore jeans. I'd never seen her in jeans. I sat down, keeping distance between us. For a long time, neither of us spoke. I had a sister, she finally said. Younger. Her name was Elizabeth. I knew this. Vaguely. My aunt who died before I was born. She looked exactly like you, my mother continued, staring at the water. Same eyes, same smile, same stubborn way of holding her chin up when she was upset. I stayed silent. We were close growing up. Best friends, really. Then she met someone our parents didn't approve of. Not wealthy enough. Not the right background. They forbade the relationship. My mother's hands clenched in her lap. Elizabeth didn't care. She married him anyway. Our parents disowned her. Cut her off completely. She paused. I took their side. Told her she was being selfish. That she was choosing some nobody over her own family. The parallel wasn't lost on me. She died 6 months later, my mother whispered. Car accident. She was pregnant. I never got to apologize. Never got to tell her I was wrong. I felt something shift in my chest. Not forgiveness. But understanding, maybe. When you were born, she continued, and you looked so much like her. I couldn't handle it. Every time I looked at you, I saw her. Saw my failure. My guilt. So I pushed you away. Made you the bad daughter because if you were flawed, if you were wrong, then maybe I hadn't been wrong about Elizabeth. She finally looked at me. Her eyes were wet. The money from the trust fund, I told myself I was managing it for your own good. That you'd waste it like Elizabeth wasted her life. But the truth is I was punishing you for reminding me of her. For being everything I destroyed in someone I loved. I sat there, processing. Decades of cruelty, explained but not excused. Is this supposed to make it better? I asked quietly. No. She shook her head. Nothing makes it better. I destroyed your childhood because I couldn't handle my own grief. I stole from you. I tried to control you. I did everything to you that my parents did to Elizabeth. She stood up, started to walk away, then turned back. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I needed you to know, it was never about you. You were never the problem. I was. She left. I sat on that bench for another hour, watching the river flow. My husband eventually came to find me. Sat beside me without speaking. She explained, I finally said. Didn't apologize. Just explained. Does it help? I don't know yet. Some wounds don't heal. They just get understood. 1 year later. We hosted our first family gathering. Not the whole family, just the ones who chose truth over comfort. My sister and her husband. A few cousins. My aunt who'd called about my father. Some friends who felt more like family than blood ever did. My husband grilled burgers in our backyard. Nothing fancy. No pretense. I sat wherever I wanted. No assigned seats. No hierarchy. Someone asked if I'd spoken to my parents since the park. No, I said simply. And I don't plan to. Do you regret any of it? My sister asked. The gala, the exposure, everything? I thought about it. Really thought about it. I regret that it had to happen, I said finally. But I don't regret doing it. They asked why I never warned them. Why I went public instead of private. I looked around at the people who actually cared about me. Because people who choose cruelty don't deserve comfort, even in their guilt. And people who spend decades building lies don't get to control how the truth comes out. My husband squeezed my hand. My sister raised her glass. To telling the truth, even when it costs everything. We all drank to that. Later, when everyone had left and we were cleaning up, my husband found me standing by the fence, looking at nothing in particular. You okay? Yeah, I said. And I meant it. I finally am. The rain stopped a long time ago. But I'm still here. Still standing. And that's the only revenge that really matters.